All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Gringo podcast. We are on show number 6, and today we're talking about improving your English with reading, learning English by reading. So make sure to hop on here at speakinggringo.com and plug in your email so you stay up to date with what's going on. But today we are talking about learning English, improving your English skills through reading. So let's dive right in. Number 1, why is reading important? Reading is super important to develop your English vocabulary. It will allow you to learn many new words. Reading is one of the best ways to increase your vocabulary because as you read, you're going to see a whole bunch of new words that you probably don't know. So as you see those words, you're going to be like, what does that mean? Sometimes, right through the context, you're going to understand what that word means, even though you may not have ever seen it before, or you may have seen it, but not in that context. But when you read it, you're going to be like, I got it. I understand the meaning. I grasp it. So that's one of the things that you can do while you're reading. You'll be picking up those words that normally you wouldn't have had contact with. Let's say you read a book that's got a lot of science terms. So you're going to learn scientific vocabulary. Let's say you're reading books about engineering. You're going to learn words related to the engineering field. So even though you may not work in that field, you'll still have contact with those vocabulary words and you'll begin to understand what they mean. Now, if you don't understand what they mean, then you can go ahead and implement these steps. But reading is important because as you see them in context, you'll begin to internalize them. So if you see a word that you've never had contact with before and you grasp it, you understand it, you begin to internalize that and you learn that word implicitly. It's different than when you have to go look up the word in the dictionary. You see the meaning and then you have to remember what that word means. Now that's one way to learn, but learning words implicitly is a whole lot better because that's how little children learn to speak their mother tongue. They hear the words, they're hearing the language, they're having contact with it, and little by little they assimilate it and internalize that vocabulary. So it's a little kid doesn't go out and start learning how to read and write and memorize vocabulary words and look up their meaning in the dictionary to learn how to speak, right? So what happens is when students focus on learning the language and they focus on memorizing vocabulary, a lot of times they're proficient, they understand what that word means, but they don't know how to use it, right? So a lot of times I see students who have studied English for many, many years, but they can't speak, they can't communicate. So by having lots of contact with the language and immersing yourself in it, you're going to begin to understand how those words work and you're going to be able to put them together. So you're going to see how those words fit together in the structure, right? You'll see lots of words put together, which is different. If you're trying to speak, you're going to have to remember the word, you're going to have to remember how it fits together and how you form the sentence. But when you're reading, it's a lot easier. It's a passive form of learning because the words are already written, the structure's already there. So you'll see how the words fit together and you'll learn how to spell them. So reading is super, super important. So now that we talked about the importance of reading, let's talk about what you should read. Let me move myself out of the way here so that way you all can see the important stuff here. Number 1, you can read books, right? I got a whole bunch of books here. You can read magazines, right? I got a bunch of magazines here. And of course, whoops, I don't know what that's doing up there. And we got these, which are kind of magazine books that I like getting to read as well. So anything that interests you. Don't read boring stuff. Unless you want to, let's say you want to learn scientific words and you don't really like science, you could go read some scientific magazines or something. But focus initially on reading things that interest you, because language is culture, right? So let that sink in for a minute. Language is culture. So the people who really master the language and learn it well are the people who enjoy something about the culture. They like the people. They like the literature. They like the movies. They like video games. There's something about the culture that attracts them. They get involved with it. They immerse themselves in it, and they learn how to use it as they assimilate it and internalize the language. Same thing with English. So if you like reading science fiction magazines, right? Science fiction, I've got Asimov and Analog, which are scientific magazines that come out every couple of months. You've got other magazines, right? These are just my magazines that I give to my clients, my real estate clients. So you can see that these are about a home and things related to family. So a lot of people like reading these kind of magazines. Whatever kind of information you like, you go to the magazine store, there's magazines for every kind of hobby out there. There's magazines for knitting, there's magazines for tennis players, there's magazines for people who like shooting guns, there's magazines about fitness, right? So whatever topics interest you, start reading those in English. And then, of course, you've got books, right? So, for example, here's an author that I've heard about. So I was interested in reading something he wrote. So I picked up a copy of this book. This book right here, they made a movie out of it. Along Came the Spider. So if you want to read a book and watch a movie, you have options like this. There's this book right here, Core by Dean Wesley Smith, which is an author I follow online. So I picked up that book. And then, of course, there's John Grisham. I really like his books. There's several movies that have been made by his books. From his books, which were The Pelican Brief and The Firm, right, with Tom Cruise. So read things that interest you. If you see a movie and you like it, go find the book and read it. So let's go ahead and talk about how to learn English. But the most important thing I want you to take away from this episode today is read what you like to read. Don't read boring stuff. Don't read things you don't enjoy just for the sake of reading it. Don't read a boring grammar book. Get a book that you like, a mystery, a thriller, action, romance, comedy, and then start reading that. Because as you read, you're going to see those words. You're going to see how they're put together. You're going to begin to understand what they mean. You'll learn many new vocabulary words. So how do you read to improve your English, to improve your vocabulary? We'll start off with just 1 or 2 paragraphs. Don't try to read the whole book immediately, especially if you're at an intermediate level in English, right? Take it in small chunks. Take a paragraph or 2, read through it, and underline the words that you don't know. So it's important that you choose a book that's at your English reading level. If your English is really basic, then go ahead and read books that are leveled readers. So there are books that are written specifically for English students, and they're written for your appropriate level. But if you can understand a fair amount of English, then you can just read stuff in general, because as you read, you'll begin to understand those words. So like, let's say you pick up a book and you don't understand 95% of the words, then it's probably too advanced. But if you're reading along and you understand most of it, but there's words here and there that you don't understand, then it's a good book. You can take that and underline each word you don't know. And then you can look up the meaning of that word in a translator, which is just a way for you to understand what it means in that context. Or you can look them up in a dictionary, right? So if you've got your English dictionary, or you can just use Google and put in define reading, define supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, right? Whatever word you see that you don't understand, put it in Google, a dictionary, a translator, and find out what it means. Write it in beside it. Make a flashcard with it. And that way you can review those words. And then just keep reading. Remember, you're reading for fun, so it doesn't have to be long and complicated, difficult. You're just reading the book. You're reading the paragraph. Underline the words you don't know. Look up those words, see what they mean. Read a little bit more, and then circle back and read that paragraph again. Review that word. See if you remember still what it means. If you're like, what did that word mean again? And you look it up again, you're reinforcing that word, right? For you to learn a word, you need to have 40 to 60 times of contact with that word for you to really assimilate it, so the experts tell us. So you may read, see a word, you don't understand it, you look it up in the dictionary, and then a day or two later you're like, I don't remember what that word means. So then you review it again, and you have another point of contact with it, and little by little you begin to internalize that word. Sometimes if you want to speak, you can't remember that word. You're like, oh, what was that word? It's right on the tip of my tongue. If somebody else says it, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that word. So if you hear it, you remember it, but you can't remember how to say it. That's why it's important to review these words until they become a part of your active vocabulary. All right, so it's important to review the words that you're learning as well. This is one of the ways that I learned Portuguese, especially when I got to a more advanced level. I would take a magazine related to a specific theme. I would flip through it. I would underline the words that I didn't know. I would read through several articles. I would keep underlining those words. And because they had a similar topic, a similar theme, many of those words would show up over and over again throughout the magazine. So then, after I read the article, the whole magazine, then I would go back through and I would remember what those words meant. I was like, oh, cool. So sometimes I didn't even have to look the word up in the dictionary. Because I saw it so many times in the different articles being used over and over and over, I understood what it meant. And so that's what you can do to improve your English by reading. So that's it, my friends. Just a couple extra tips here. If you have a Kindle, you can download the Kindle Reader free from Amazon. You can download it on your cell phone, and you can read books right on your cell phone. So there are a lot of books that you can download for free. I should have pulled this up earlier, but I didn't think of it. So let me see if I can remember what the name of that website is. If not, I'll just have to circle back around in another episode. Yeah, I don't remember. There's a really good website where every day they're always putting up free ebooks. Authors are putting up their books for free, so that way they want you to read book 1 in their series. So hopefully you'll continue reading on. They'll have discounts, so you can constantly be getting new books to read. So why is Kindle such a great resource? It has a built-in dictionary right into it, so you can click on the word, see what it means. You can take notes, make notes about the words that you're learning. And as a bonus tip, you also have the audiobooks with WhisperSync. So as you're listening to the audio, your Kindle reader will keep moving through the book and staying in the place that you're hearing. So that's just an extra tip there for you. If you like reading, if you have a Kindle, or even if you don't, just take your cell phone, right, and download the free Kindle reader. Let me see where my Kindle reader is here. and then you can read a bunch of books. So let me just show you here. I'm going to do it on the computer. So let me pull that up here. Show you some of the books that I like reading. Now I just have to find it because I didn't set this up ahead of time. Here we go. Another resource that you can use is Kindle Unlimited. You get lots of books to read every month. So all the time, right? You pay one monthly fee and you can read lots of different books. So let me just find some of the books that I've been reading here. So for example, these are some really good books. Actually, I don't think you guys can see what's on my screen. So let me pull this over here. So for example, right here, you can see these books by Will Wright. These were some books that I read a while back in 2021 that I really liked. There's like 9 books in the series. They're really interesting. So for example, there's this book Unsold, Soulsmith, and Black Flame, and then there's Skysworn, Ghostwater, Underlord, and there's a whole bunch of other books. I don't have them here. I think they're over in my Audible account. But anyways, these books, for example, the reason I point them out is because if you have Kindle Unlimited, you pay like $10 a month, and you can read all the books you want that are in Kindle Unlimited. But these specific books come with the audio included for free. You don't have to pay any extra for the audio books, the audio version. So that way I was just driving around in my car listening to the audio, and that is a great way for you to develop your listening skills, which we'll talk about in an upcoming episode of the podcast. So that's it, my friends. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. That way I can answer them for you in the comments, or I can record more videos. We can talk about questions that you have in upcoming episodes. If you have questions about English, how to learn English, how to improve your English, you have a specific question about a vocabulary word, the grammar structure, something that you find frustrating, pronunciation sounds, expressions, whatever questions you have about English, drop them in the comments below. I look forward to chatting with you, recording more videos for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Speaking Gringo podcast. All right, that's it, my friends. Dave Bailey here. Peace out. Y'all have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.